All right, we are back, and what we saw in the last video was everything breaks down when everything breaks down in the Western world when political liberalism and market economy, two products of the Enlightenment, get put into society. So there's got to be some issue with society that would allow us to potentially get back to a normal situation. The first person that we are going to look at who is trying to study this scientifically, because there have been people who have been philosophizing about society for a long time, but the first person who says we need to have a science, like physics, but for society, is Auguste Comte. You read about him, or you will read about him, and his idea is very specifically, we've got to put sociology into existence to bring order back to the world. The French Revolution is tearing people apart. The Industrial Revolution is tearing people apart, or the French Revolution did. So what can we learn by studying society scientifically? It's not something you can see. So can we look for patterns that will then allow us to infer something about this thing called society? We got to do that because if we can use sociology to pinpoint what the problems are and create reforms that will make society work. Importantly, Comte wants order, but he understands we're not going back to feudalism. That's just not how existence works. Existence is evolutionary. In fact, he had a model of evolution that roughly parallels our Middle Ages, Enlightenment, and then into modern times, which is going to happen post 1800. He called them the Theological Stage, which is before 1500, before 1300, before the Renaissance, where people believed in supernatural powers. And we talked about the fact that in the Middle Ages, Christianity is sort of the way people explain things. That segues through the Renaissance and into the Enlightenment into what he called the metaphysical stage, where instead of explaining things in terms of God, we explain things in terms of nature. This is how nature is. And what Comte says is now, post-1800, we found out that basing things in nature doesn't always work out well. We've got to be realistic about things. We've got to scientifically study them to figure out how to make things work. And he calls that the positivistic stage. We're looking for laws that exist within society. So what he says is, okay, so let's do this. What we had in the French Revolution and now in the Industrial Revolution, we can call that social disorder. People are not getting along. They're cutting people's heads off. They're allowing people to starve. This is not an orderly way of existing as human beings. And remember, feudalism isn't heaven, but it's orderly, generation after generation after generation. Now, your father might have been like the baron of something in France, and now he doesn't have a head, and you are now out of your aristocratic position. Or you may have been a farmer, and the land got enclosed, and now your children are going to end up working in factories. Everything is disorderly. So what Comte wants to know is why? What's going on? And his argument is this. The problem is what he calls intellectual disorder. Some people have positivistic ideas about how things should work. Other people are stuck in that metaphysical stage. Some people are even stuck back in that theological stage. People don't have the same ideas about things, and it's leading them to behave in disorderly ways. Now, this idea that people are living based on their ideas and that they behave based on their ideas is something that we sort of take for granted. But again, appreciate the fact that Comte is discovering this. He's discovering the fact that there are clashing ideas that are leading to social disorder. He's kind of the first guy who is asserting that in a scientific way. But he doesn't stop there. He says, well, why? Why now? Why wasn't it this way before? And his answer to that is the division of labor. That division of labor that Adam Smith, was trumpeting as going to be the way that we end up creating the wealth of nations. What Comte finds about it is that the industrial division of labor, the way it's happening in the market economy, is creating such different lives for different types of people that they end up having completely different intellectual experiences. Their ideas about life are different. Whereas back when we were stuck in feudal times, everybody was united thinking about things in terms of the great chain of being and Christianity. Now, people's intellectual lives are being sort of guided by their experiences, and our experiences aren't in common anymore. The division of labor in the industrial world leads us to have different experiences, which leads us to have different ideas about right and wrong, which leads to social disorder. Yeah, that's what we got. So what Comte says that we need to do is understand what can we do? Because again, we're not going backwards. This division of labor is here. So what do we do? Well, Comte says because we're practicing this new science of sociology, we can try to find ways, elements of society that will unite people so that they have the same morality, the same ideas about things. We can't do it in the economy. That's not going to work. So what can we do? And Comte argues that the places that we could probably best do this would be in the family, in the church, he says in the community as well. And in fact, he's so committed to this idea that he actually creates his own church called the Religion of Humanity that didn't really make it. But his idea there is to say, again, we can't go backwards. Christianity isn't going to be the thing that unites us, so let's unite under this religion of humanity that would be based in, I guess, the laws of society. So that is Comte's diagnosis of what went wrong, what leads to the social disorder, and his diagnosis of what we could do to fix it. We are not going to go backwards in time, so this division of labor stays, but we could use the social institutions of the church, family, and to at least some extent the community to make sure that everybody kind of has the same ideas about morality. It's not going to solve all problems, but it gets people on the same page and hopefully reduces this idea of social disorder. Okay, that's Comte. That's it. But what we have to do, that's sort of his theory, but now I want to step back from it and say, okay, so what do we get? He's going to be the first person who's going to start describing this invisible thing called society to us. He looks at these patterns and he infers some things. So what have we learned? These are, again, the first sociological insights of all time. They're not going to be tremendously earth-shaking to you, but it's pretty cool that a guy was able to look at the French Revolution and the Industrial Revolution, look at the chaos, and say, okay, so because there's this chaos, it means something must not be going right, and what would that possibly be, and what does that mean then that we can infer about society? Here are the things, here are the takeaways. First of all, society is an organism, he says. In the sense that lots of organs are working together. He kind of talked about the church and the family as being these two things that can help us all have the same ideas about things. Those are particular organs. We would think of them now, if you've taken my intro, we would think of them as social institutions, these sort of patterned ways of doing things. Importantly, the organs are not individuals. Comte sees the world, sees society is not made up of individuals. Individuals go through society, but society is not individual people. It's these organs, these social institutions, the family, the church, the economy, but the economy is not helping us right now. But the economy is like its own organ, and then it's doing its own thing, and in order to deal with it, We need the church and the family to do their own things. The other thing, so society is an organism. The organs are social institutions. They're not individuals. The third thing, his third insight is that for order and harmony to exist, just being connected to people by buying their stuff is not enough. We have to have a common morality, a sense of common beliefs. We're going to come back to this over and over and over again. But Comte is the first person to kind of see this necessity. And he says, and this is sort of linking those other ideas, that the way society is set up, the way the organs are set up, can create that sense of common morality, that sense of common beliefs. All right, that's our first guy, Auguste Comte. In the next video, we are going to see a different Frenchman, Alexis de Tocqueville, who is he's going to notice different patterns, and he is going to bring a whole other aspects of society to our attention. I'll see you then.